This year's bazaars see the return of dry goods and food stalls for the first time after the pandemic. Take a look. These windmills are some of the most popular merchandise in the flower markets. Spinning these wheels, big or small, is believed to be able to chase away bad spell and usher in good luck for the new year ahead. But remember to do so in the clockwise direction. Hello and welcome to TVB News. As the consultation work for Article 23 legislation is underway, Secretary for Security Chris Tang and Secretary for Justice Paul Lam told TVB News the proposed state secrets law won't be limited to government secrets, but also those from private companies. They include confidential information on critical infrastructure. The two officials said, while criticisms towards the government are still permissible, the expanded incitement charge might outlaw biased and exaggerated censures. The one-month consultation period for national security legislation under Article 23 of the Basic Law will wrap up at the end of this month. The government recommended that it will be an offense if state secrets are disclosed without lawful authority and would likely endanger national security. And state secrets encompass 7 areas, including major policy decisions and the city's socio-economic development. Speaking to TVB News, Secretary for Security Chris Tang said they also cover state secrets from private companies. Any clearer guidelines to the public so they won't really commit a crime unknowingly?
The information doesn't really limit it to government information. It may also include information relating to critical infrastructure. For example, where we store all those engines that they generate electricity. So that's critical, right? It will be very likely that the national security will be affected, will be in danger.
When asked if the revelation of MTR confidential documents that brought the Shatin Central rail link scandal to light also constitutes an offense, Tang said even if it affects the government's reputation, it doesn't necessarily compromise national security. Another proposed clause of concern, it can be an offense to disclose what appears to be state secrets.
We have to find a new offense to regulate those improper behavior.
But they're not state secrets by nature. So.
Yeah, but they pretend to be state secret. But by doing that, people will believe it is state secret, and then it may also endanger public security, and it may also cause chaotic situation in the society.
But would that hamstring journalistic work and other whistleblowing efforts? Would the government consider exemption given to maybe journalistic work for the sake of public interest?
Such circumstances, the public interest, it's higher than the risk of such the national security risks. So in that circumstances, probably we may think about that. But I think the threshold will be very high, and this is not very often.
So in some cases, it's possible for the public interest to override the national security law?
Override the risk of national security.
Okay, so it's still possible to override the law?
Yeah, so we're thinking about it.
Tang added negative news or criticisms can be discussed based on facts, but should not be exaggerated or embellished. This as the government proposes in its Article 23 legislation plan to expand the incitement offences covered in existing laws to include those targeting legislative bodies and the central government's offices in Hong Kong. On the possible extraterritorial powers of the proposed legislation, Secretary for Justice Paul Lam told TVB News that would likely be triggered over more severe offences such as treason.
Hong Kong residents or Chinese national, they owed the duty of allegiance to our country. It doesn't really matter whether the act is committed within the territory of Hong Kong or outside. And what we recommend is that we will look into the gravity of individual offenses, but we will be very careful and ensure that the applicability of our offenses will be consistent with public international law principles.
What about diplomats who need to comment on political cases on behalf of their countries?
To diplomats, they are entitled to certain immunity, provided that they behave or act in a way within the boundaries of the law or within the boundary prescribed by the international treaties.
On whether authorities could bar or delay the meeting between suspects and their lawyers, Paul Lam said there might be a mechanism in place preventing lawyers from relaying messages from the suspect to other accomplices. The long-awaited match between Inter Miami and Hong Kong 6 finally came today. with the former scoring a 4-1 victory against the SAR. But fans eager to see the Argentine legend in action were sorely disappointed and outraged when the little flea sat on the bench throughout the game. Timothy Lee tells us more. Today marks the start of spring. Mist could be seen along the coast this morning, with the observatory forecasting temperatures in the city to drop 11 degrees on the 9th of this month. The United States and Britain said they had struck 36 Houthi targets in Yemen on Saturday in a fresh wave of regional assaults. The strikes are meant to further disable Iran-backed groups such as the Houthis that have attacked American and international interests in the wake of the Israel-Hamas war. On Friday, the U.S. carried out 85 strikes against Iran-linked targets in Iraq and Syria in retaliation for the killing of 3 American soldiers in Jordan. Washington once more did not directly target Iran, but the Houthis say they will respond. Nasty Kareem with more. The Israel Defense Forces, or IDF, says it is ready to attack Hezbollah in Lebanon if provoked as tensions rise away from the Gaza Strip. The IDF says it has hit more than 34,000 targets in Lebanon since the outbreak of the war with the group Hamas in Gaza. This as Israeli troops focus on the south of the territory after withdrawing from the north. Gaza officials say more than 27,200 people have been killed since Israel launched its offensive in response to the militia attacks on October 7th. Nasty Kareem again. Still ahead. Welcome back. U.S. President Joe Biden swept to victory in the South Carolina Democratic primary. He comfortably saw off 2 other candidates in the first officially sanctioned race of the party's nominating season. David Garrett reports. The Chilean government is urging thousands of people to evacuate the central city of Vina del Mar after raging forest fires killed at least 46 people on Saturday. Meanwhile, a fire near a Tokyo railway station injured 1 and disrupted trains for about 3 hours. A blaze at a building. Back locally, the week-long Lunar New Year fairs around the city got into business today. This year's bazaars see the return of dry goods and food stalls for the first time after the pandemic. Take a look. These windmills are some of the most popular merchandise in the flower markets. Spinning these wheels, Baker Small is believed to be able to chase away bad spell and usher in good luck for the new year ahead. But remember to do so in the clockwise direction. A correction, today's soccer match at Hong Kong Stadium was between Inter Miami and Hong Kong 11, and Olympic swimmer Siobhan Haughey was among the spectators. And to more sports, England captain Harry Kane scored his 24th goal of the season as Bayern Munich rallied from a goal down to beat Borussia Mönchengladbach 3-1 in the Bundesliga. A late Alireza Jahanbakhsh penalty was the difference as Iran came from behind to defeat Japan 2-1 and booked their place in the AFC Asian Cup Qatar semi-finals. In another quarter-final, hosts and defending champions Qatar beat Uzbekistan 3-2 in a penalty shootout after the teams played out a 1-1 draw in 120 minutes. And that's the news. Thank you for watching.